better go. Out of here. Get out. Get out. Hello, this is Moondice. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, nice to see you again. Like, welcome back. And Happy New Year. Because I know I've posted it, but I know I haven't also filmed the video where I'm looking straight into the camera and saying Happy New Year. And I know it's February, it's already Valentine's Day, but it's okay. It's okay. Let me hold your hand as I say that. I'm here now. So today we're going to be speaking about RAGS. If any of you guys grew up on Nickelodeon and Disney like myself, you'll know this movie because I went on to Letterboxd and I found like this ritual watcher each year, and there was even a comment about how like a previous year or this year would be the year that he would finally afford his mom's piano, and you'll get that once I discuss the movie. So I loved it a lot, not only because of the music, but because it had KK Palmer, and I loved her. Actually, this is post her releasing that she'd like to be called Lauren Palmer. So, to respect her wishes, Lauren Palmer. Okay, I'm gonna try, but if I make mistakes, know that I am just a girl. It's already obvious that I like Cinderella retellings. You can watch my other videos and check them up out here. So I've been going through all the Cinderella movies that I can, and I'm ranking them as I go because it's like a rewatch, and like, is it actually that good? Because despite what people say, and despite the cute little song that I sing all the time, I don't wanna be no Cinderella, singing in a gold I love Cinderella retellings. This one is from my childhood, but particularly special is that it's from one of the big guys. Nickelodeon has a black woman as the lead. Love that. And the Cinderella is actually a man, which is very rare, I think. If there's more, please put it in the comment section because, like, I will devour any Cinderella content. There will obviously be spoilers, so if you haven't watched this and you want to watch it before you watch my video, go ahead and do that. If you want to be introduced to this movie through my video, and then after that, watch it and be like, damn, she was right, it's an amazing movie, spoiler alert, you can do that too. And if you have the time and think that, oh, at the end of this, she's actually quite amazing, hit the subscribe button too. Come along the ride. Watch more videos. We're all here to have fun, aren't we? Also, disclaimer, it's really hot. Like the previous video I was filming, we're in a heat wave. I am dying. There's a fan on. I have a magazine next to me because I lost my handheld fan to blow onto my face every few minutes because, girl, I am sweating. I feel like I am melting. The story is currently being narrated by a faceless human being who we know is of the male gender. He's telling us about how this is not like other stories, right? It has the same parts of a Cinderella story though, because he has a stepfather, two stepbrothers, his mom is dead, so they've switched around the genders, but you know, same story. And he basically works for his stepfather free of charge at the diner that his mom left to his stepfather as well, right? But the difference here, and it's not really a big difference because if you've seen many other Cinderella movies, this is the easiest one, is that he can sing. I was kind of disappointed when they were narrating this entire thing, and not once did they say, no, this is no Cinderella story. This is a Cinderella story. Am I right? Yeah, I like puns, and I know they're not that funny, but I had to say it, okay? Sue me. How do we know that he's a singer? He is currently busking. He's going at it. And this is the song I still remember till today. Like these lines, like hear it.
I follow my dream.
The person who is narrating the story is actually a sound engineer, and he's pretty impressed by Charlie, that's his name, our little Cinderella. He thinks that Charlie is super talented, and he's like, one day you'll be just like Katie Worth, which is Lauren Palmer's like name in the story because she's like super famous. At the moment, while Charlie's rushing to get home via skateboard, the best means of transportation in an early 2000s movie, Katie Worth is filming a music video, decked out in gold, busting them moves down, cameras on, music blasting. She is going hard. But when things come to a stop on the set, we realize that she's not who we think she is, or at least who she's been advertised to be in passing conversations, even though it's been like 5 minutes. She is not passionate about the music she's singing, because her father curates not only her aesthetic but her music, and hires the best lyricists in order to make music he thinks will actually sell, because he owns the label she's under, which is another bag of worms, to be honest. I personally don't feel like you should be working that closely to your parents, but maybe I'm the problem. And truly, it's the lack of faith for me. I feel like it's actually quite conducive to let people learn through like mistakes and experiences and get better. But you know, what do I know? I'm not in the entertainment industry. I'm just like a girl behind the camera. Also, we love that our two main characters are super talented, because I can't lie to you. Charlie's played by Max, who is still a singer till this date, and he has this awesome song with Augusty. But to be honest, when I was in high school, my final year, he had this one song, when I remember the name I'll put it, that basically like was my lifesaver. Every time before I entered the exam room, I was like, I need to play this song. And I just remember the name, Lights Down Low by Max, so you can check that out. I have a brief parallel of Charlie and Katie both like doing their things, where she is this performer, and everywhere you would think he would want to be, and he's there singing the songs he loves and enjoys, but at the price of having none of what she has. And we also see his stepbrothers, Android. Their names are with an A. I think it's Andre and Droid. I could be totally wrong. I'm not gonna actually go check for their names, but they've decided that the name they're going under is Android, and their father, who has this very apparent and terrible like fat like bump to make him look more skeezy. And I'm not saying it makes him look that way, I think it's a stereotype. Annoyed, tired. I've said things about this on my TikTok if you're curious. And he's like, whoa, my boys are talented. So he actually makes them perform in the diner that has like a karaoke machine and everything, and a stage each time a customer enters the place. But it's pretty dead, because it's a deadbeat like restaurant now. No one comes to it, and everyone thinks that the stepfather is probably the reason. And I will agree, because if there was customers and then his mom died and there were no customers, 1 + 1 = 2, right? The main point is that his stepbrothers are not talented. From the music to the dancing, they're just not given the it factor. But their father, their biggest supporter, and that's the only way I can say I respect this man, is like, whoa, like, look at my kids, look at them, look, like they're amazing, guys. Like, you don't see what I see, which is so crazy to me, because if Katie's dad even had a fraction of that trust, she'd be out in the streets singing to the top of her lungs her own music, instead of what he's bought from everyone else in the city. It's then we find out that the two brothers are applying for Majesty Records singing competition. Katie Worth's dad is the owner of the label she's under, which is Majesty Records. So you see the dots, they're starting to connect, right? Charlie, being the Cinderella of the family, is tasked with dropping off the CD at Majesty Records, because you have to do it physically, right? On his way to Majesty Records on his skateboard, he bumps into Katie Worth, and these papers in a book she has goes flying. We assume it's her music, because she's super guarded about it and totally put off by Charlie. He does recognize who she is, but it's pretty late, and it's because of the paparazzi, and he has things to do, so he goes in to Majesty Records to drop off the CD. There he sees an advertisement for a part-time janitor, and you know what this boy's like? Whew, that's good money, actually. I want this job. And he applies for it, which is so interesting to me, because I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that a janitor's job is not important, but usually in these things it will be like, okay, let me also secretly submit a CD that I have of my music, because clearly it's his passion. Nope. The lady at the reception asks him if he has any experience, and I thought it's so funny, because like, he's a Cinderella, like, who doesn't have that experience?
Experience? Cleaning? Why, yes, I do.
When the sound engineer, who's been sort of like narrating the story in the beginning, sees Charlie exit Majesty Records, he's like, make sure he gets hired for that job. Charlie is clearly adjusting well to his job. On his first day, he's cleaning the CEO's office. I may not understand the work structure, but that's like a lot of trust on one day, right? And I mean that because the first thing he does is start looking around at the photos and high key snooping and being like, I accept this award. That type of energy, right? And Katie marches in because it's her dad's office and she sees in him. She's like, what are you doing here? He manages to hide the fact that he was staring like hard-eyed, moon-eyed at one of the photos of her and her dad and put it aside awkwardly, I might add, when her boyfriend enters the room. And her boyfriend is played by Avan Jogia. Star-studded cast, guys. Star-studded cast. Do you see the talent in this room? It's overflowing. He is kind of no thoughts, head empty.
I'm the janitor.
That's a bit of a lame stage name, mate. I'll go with something else, like, I don't know, the janitor? It might work.
Charlie manages to slip away, but he does hear that Katie and her boyfriend are not really real. It's just another part of her being marketed to the audience because her boyfriend is super popular and the guy that everybody wants. And to be honest, young Evan Jogia, me being a kid, I agree. Charlie can pine in peace now because he doesn't need to have any guilty feelings of liking someone who has a boyfriend already, you know? So I'm proud of that because we don't need that romanticized infidelity trope here, okay? Get out, get out. Katie is hoping that someday she'll be able to sing her own songs and see the connection there because the song that Charlie first sings, it's called Someday and it's about following his dreams. And with Katie, it's exactly the same. Next day at Majesty Records, in the hallway, in broad daylight, with everybody around, Katie Worth and Charlie are high key flirting, or at least they are to me because they have really good chemistry. They're going back and forth, and Charlie literally falls over himself. He does clean up his mess, or at least he says he does, and then next thing you know, he's cleaning up the room where the magic happens. Charlie can't resist the urge to perform, which I get, to be honest, because if there was a mic in front of me, and there's one right now, I'd be belting on any second. And the sound engineer is in the room, but he was sleeping. The sound of Charlie singing wakes him up, and he immediately hits record because, as I told you, this man is his biggest fan. And he realizes that the sound engineer is in the room. He's ready to like leave, you know, because like he knows he shouldn't be doing that. But as I said, biggest fan, he's like, you know what, that's really good, let's record this. And after he finishes one song, he's like, I have like a whole book full of songs. Like, do you want to like continue on? And they continue on. Shocker to nobody on earth that has seen his stepbrothers perform. They have been rejected by Majesty Records. And their father is enraged. Once again, if most parents had the level of support and trust that this father has for his kids who is super untalented, I don't know what the world would be, but I could hope a better place. To be honest, I feel like their music is a niche of its own.
Pretty ladies around the world got a weird thing to show you, so tell all the boys and girls, tell your brother, your sister, and your mama too, cause we're about to throw.
Kind of reminds me of those two, was it brother or sister or couple in Pitch Perfect.
Paranoia is in bloom, the PR transmissions will resume. They try to push drugs and keep us all dumbed down and hope that we will never see the truth around. Another promise, another seed, another package like.
So I did mention before that you would know about the piano lore by the end of this video. So what it is that there's a charity shop near where Charlie lives, and he's been slowly paying it off ever since his stepfather sold it to the owner of the shop. So RAGS was made in 2012, or at least it was released in 2012, and at that point, with the amount of money he was giving this man on the regular, he would only be able to afford it by 2021. It's kind of his hangout spot when he's not at the restaurant or at his job. So one day, right after his job, he's like, okay, I'm going there to play it, because he'll sometimes go and play it, right? And Katie Worth, very much Annabeth coded, if you know, you know, follows him all the way to the piano store, and this is the piano.
What are you doing here? You come to some pawn shop to play a ratty old piano? What's that about?
It's my mom's.
And more gorgeous it could not be.
I was squealing. That's all. That's genuinely what was happening when they were talking in the. I feel like it's a secondhand store, because the chemistry, first off, the back and forth, like that's banter. But sometimes you watch movies and you're just like, I see where you're going, but I'm not quite there yet. But with Katie and Charlie, every time they interact, I'm like, I see where you're going. I'm already at the destination. Come on, you're moving slowly. Let's go. She ends up showing him her music, that is in the notebook that flew away on the day that they met, and he's like, you know what? Let's go. They end up on a street, as most people do when they travel in, moving vehicles, and when they exit vehicles. And he puts on glasses on her and a hat. He's like, chef's kiss done, best disguise, now sing. If my favorite artist was in the street with the glasses and a hat and with their voice, which has been imprinted into my soul and veins because their music means everything to me, I would 100% recognize them. But you know what? Charlie's skills is just that next level. It's kind of like the Superman effect. He's giving her like the ultimate busking experience, because who has mentors in this? I don't know if buskies have mentors, right? And he's like, I'm gonna give you a chance to be who you really are without nobody knowing that there's Katie behind this, which I think is nice because it's an authentic experience. Because if she was genuinely untalented, they would actually boo her. Get off the stage. Yeah, so he's like, here, do it. The best part about this whole performance is the white skinny jeans and the wedges she has on, and still managing to hit every single step. But I can't lie to you, white skinny jeans will never be the same ever since Joe Jonas in Camp Rock. Throughout her whole performance, there's this homeless man jamming to it, and at the end he's like, you should do this as a job, and she's gonna give him all the earnings that she made. And this is the most, okay, not the most, because there's a few Charlie traits that will be revealed as I continue with this movie that are a bit like, but this one was the most sus. Where I do understand that for him, like, the money he makes is the only money he has. Katie is rich, right? So when she finishes that and she has all this money, she wants to give this to the homeless man, and he's like, this is your first time you were busked, like, you have to keep the earnings the first time. And she does give it to the homeless man, disregarding what he said. But I was just like, how can you say that with chest in front of him? Like, I know, like, that's crazy, but he's a teenager, so I'll say grace period. And I guess he was trying to make her remember the experience, but very weird. It's time for them to leave, and they almost miss the bus, but they manage to catch up to it. And in the bus, she does, like, sort of take off a piece of her disguise. I don't know whether it's the hat or the glasses, but it interrupts a moment that her and Charlie are having where they seem to be bonding again, and she gives him an invitation to Majesty Records Gala, because she's like, thank you for giving me this experience, I want to give you one too, which is entirely very sweet, and made me gush inside. When Charlie arrives home, his stepfather finds the invitation pretty quickly. He didn't hide it. I don't know if he has, like, some misguided faith with this family, but as he's talking about it, he's sort of flexing that he got it from the Katie Worth, and they're thinking, oh, this guy's lying, but when they open it, it's like a legit invitation, and his stepfather takes it. So Charlie, right? I said that what he did with the homeless man was like the first but the biggest thing about Charlie that you'll notice from this point on is that he's not much of a fighter from his dreams. Or maybe this has been happening from the beginning, because as I said, when we saw the competition, he wasn't like, oh, okay, I should apply too. There's never really this actual, like, drive to follow this dream he has. So even when his stepfather takes the invitation, he's just like, oh, well, it's gone. Like, I guess I can't go. Where's the anger, bro? I'd be so mad, genuinely. I'd rather burn that invitation than let that stepfather and his two sons get there. Personally, that's just me. But you know what? Grace, I thought maybe this family has broken his soul so much that like he can't even find the fighting spirit anymore. You know, like sometimes people really do exhaust you that way. I haven't mentioned them before this, but there are two people who work at the diner as well. I do not remember their names, right? And they've been working there since his mom owned the diner. And when they find out that he won't be going to the ball, we see sort of the sequence of them working on things. The husband is working on a bike, the wife, no, not the wife, the girlfriend, because I remember she made a very pointed thing about like them getting married and him getting like a used engagement ring, I think, right? If I remember correctly. She is taking down cloths and so on and so forth. So we know that they're basically the fairy godmother of the Cinderella movie. And on the night of the ball, I think it was like the next day, this movie was moving at like an astronomical pace, right? They give him an outfit, give him a hat. His outfit is actually very flashy, so I was just like, that's the worst outfit to wear to a place where you don't want to be recognized, but also you gotta work with what you have. And the woman who made his outfit genuinely took it from the curtains within the restaurant. So sis, you did the best you could do. And they have a bike which the man fixed up for him so he could actually have a means to go there other than a skateboard. And then they give him a mask because they're like, hey, your stepfather cannot recognize you. And before he leaves, they're like, do you think, privately, they're like, do you think he's gonna have a chance of going inside? Because he does express that, oh no, like, do you think I'll be able to go inside without any invitation? Which is very much like, oh, boy, at least try, you know what I mean? But they express that they don't think he'll actually achieve it. So I'm like, why did you even waste his time doing all of these things? Charlie manages to sneak in, and the MC of the event is the father of all fathers.
Y'all make some noise! Come on, come on. I got babies at home that make more noise than...
There's another synchronized dance that happens with the attendance of the ball slash gala, and I'm not really vibing with that one because it's very uns music, and no offense to uns music, but unless it's actually good, I sort of zone out. Within that dance, Katie does lose her partner because the MC is like, now we're gonna switch it up. And Charlie swoops in and is her partner for the rest of the dance. He uses information that he knows from being her friend and their conversation, like, oh, like you can really do this, blah 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 blah, I see you. Which, considering the fact that you didn't come as yourself, I understand the circumstances. It kind of is like weird because I don't know, I feel like I'd be hopeful and be like, oh my god, like I just met the love of my life, he gets me. But it's like, no, like he gets you because he knows you, okay? And in any other situation this might be a red flag, but in this situation it's Cinderella and these are extenuating circumstances, guys, so I let it go. It's also pretty mysterious and very like suave of him, and I'm like, boy, I dare you to do this with your mask off. Like, the weirdest part about anonymity is that you get to do all these things without like any repercussions of the person that you are, and it's like a drug, I guess. I think I wouldn't know, but I think so. Once they finish their dance, it's announced that the winners of the Majesty Records competition did not make it. The sound engineer who helped him film his CDs is there as well. His stepfather, the man he is, the supportive father he is, sees this situation. He's just like, boys, get on the stage and show these people what they're missing out on and make them see and regret that they rejected y'all. But they get on the stage and people genuinely are like, boo, get off, boo, get off. Some engineers like, you're way more talented, and I have the CD that I heard of you. Get on that stage. No one will know it's you. And he gets on that stage and he performs. I was a little bit disappointed by the song choice because Someday, as I said, is my favorite, and the song was a bit more about like fame and the person he will be, which wasn't bad, but it just did not have the same like the little extra thing that Someday has. Katie Worth is for it. But his stepfather, done with the party after the embarrassment that his family has just experienced, is leaving. And so, right at the end of the performance, perfectly aligned, I know, he runs out, but Katie follows after him. And what does he do? He kisses her. Bro, like, that was wild for me, personally. Like, it was like a little, but, like, I was shocked. And he runs away and his CD gets dropped. So far, so I watched the Selena Gomez one, which is the iPod. The Lucy Hill one, if I remember correctly, is the CD. Now we have another CD, which is on track because every single one I've watched thus far has been related to some sort of talent. But at some point I thought about how cool this would have been if like we had like a mashup of the Let It Shine cast and the RAGS cast, because it's just full of superstars. Like, it's stunners: Evan Jogia, Lauren Palmer, Max, um Coco Jones, I forgot, Tyler James Williams. Like, guys, that's a lineup. And if Nickelodeon and Disney could get together in a room back in the day and put that on my screen, it would have been amazing, because the music in both of them are relatively good. Important to note that also when Charlie was performing, the dumb stepbrother, or the kinder one, there's always the case of there being a kinder step sibling, because they're sort of mistreated as compared to the other child, because parents have favorites, realizes that it's Charlie because Charlie has this very specific sign that he draws on his shoes and clothes that he owns. So yeah, you busted. Charlie manages to get home in one piece without being caught by his stepfather, but the only thing he realizes is missing is his CD. Katie, who was impressed by Rags' performance, tries to get her dad to pursue who this person is, because he like was hiding his identity. But her dad, for the first time, has like some sense of logic, because he's like, okay, well, if he was really ready for the spotlight, he wouldn't have come on stage with a mask on his face. Like, you wouldn't have to look for him, which is fair. Like, if someone's hiding who they are, there's probably a reason why they're doing that. But Katie's not having that, and she's like, I'm gonna take this into my own hands and find him. She manages to get multiple news outlets to report on her looking for him, and says that if they find him, he will get a record deal. And I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, because there's gonna be some benefits to your dad being the owner of a record label, especially if he's curating your life to the T. Like, go get other artists. Do what you have to do, okay, babes? Also, she breaks up with Finn because she's tired, and that kiss might have like sparked a little something in her. She knows that this fake relationship thing is not for her, babes. A shocker, though, is before she goes on this quest to look for Rags, she goes to Tali and tells him that she intends to do so. And she's listening to the music on his CD with earphones, and that's when he chooses to confess. And she hears nothing. He goes on with supporting her to look for himself, knowing full well that he will never actually reveal that he is Rex. Android ends their practice, and the nice brother approaches him when his dad and older brother are gone and says, I know that you're Rex. He does this whole thing where he tries to sort of threaten him, I think, into telling Katie that he is Rags by breaking every single one of the glasses he just cleaned up, and saying like, I won't stop until you admit it. And I'm like, boy, you better get out of here before I beat your ass. And I what? Like a dog. Day and night, bro. Day and night for you and your family, right? And you're supposed to be the nice guy, but here you are actually undoing all of my hard work and actually getting me in trouble, because the dad does approach them towards the end. He's also the reason why the dad and the other brother figure out that Charlie is Rags, because he was not discreet enough when he was like, I know who you are. Damn, like, I was actually so annoyed by him. He's actually worse to me than the one who's just mean, because there's nothing worse than a person who thinks that they're doing you a favor or being nice, but they're actually making your life more difficult. Personally, that's how I feel. So the twin brother, having heard the conversation, sneaks into his room and finds the song as well as the pamphlet that as well as the pamphlet for the competition that Katie Worth is hosting, which specifies that the person who can sing the rest of the song on the CD, specifically someday, will be recognized as RAGS. Katie does have an argument with her father about her and this competition and the fact that she completely like went over him to do it, and she sarcastically mentions that she shouldn't be hanging out with Charlie because like he cleans the floors and this and this and that. It's like a point in the conversation to make the people realize how pretentious they are sounding, because they believe the reason she's acting the way she is because of Charlie, but Charlie always only hears the first end of that. I find it very interesting because after that point he still goes to the auditions to support Katie, which I love, but I think it's a big reflection of the fact that after that he just goes and mopes for a bit, and he sort of internalizes her words instead of being like, oh, that's nonsense, I hate that, and I feel like that's a very hurtful thing for you to say about me. He's just like, I can believe she said that about me, which I think supports that his family has beaten him down so well, that like he's just like, I'm not deserving. But his stepdad is there as well and lures him into a supply closet. He also says verbatim to Katie what he told her the night of the party, where he was just like, be you. Katie's dad also comes. All of a sudden he's very supportive, and this is where I feel like the movie also sort of lost that little glazy, little fun, exciting feeling that I was having, because before it was moving, right? But at least it was like a pace that made sense. But towards the end, when we're trying to figure out who Rags is, from the news outlets to the auditions, we're just speeding through it. It was like they had a set, and the set was not going to be available to them after that day, and they were like, we need a speed run through the end of the movie. Charlie gets locked in a closet. There's a montage of bad auditions. His brother, who is blonde and does not even have a single similar vocal cord in his whole body, because the way he sang someday, whoa. And to be honest, Katie's feeling the same way. And if we're gonna say that he had dye in his hair for that night, I don't know, somehow found a way to make himself shorter, there's one thing that should have at least been consistent, and that's his voice. They go to his mom's restaurant to celebrate the fact that his stepbrother is Rags. Charlie arrives there first because he saw the tail end of his stepbrother being recognized as Rags, and he was just like, you know what, I'm done with this. Gets home, packs his bag, he's like, I'm leaving, I can't do this anymore, this is just, it's too much for me. Eventually the rest of the crowd, as well as the people who audition, come to the restaurant because they're like, okay, we're excited to like celebrate the stepbrother being Rags. And Charlie's leaving. Katie's like, please just stay for 5 minutes, and he's willing to stay for those 5 minutes, bro. But then she's about to announce who it is, and he's like, you know what, actually, like, I know I love you, but I can't do this. And she announces that it's Charlie. Again, I was kind of excited, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was moving at a breakneck pace, let's not lie to each other, but I was still like, girl. Charlie gets up there and he's like, how did you know? And she was like, how would I not know? How could you say exactly what you said at the gala and think I wouldn't know, you know? He performs someday, and I was so excited. I was like, we're finally getting the full version of this song, you know, like that little snippet was enough to get me fully excited, and we don't. But instead we get Katie performing her own song. She initially wasn't going to do it because, like, my dad is here and he's like the most unsupportive father ever, but he's like, oh no, I would love to hear you sing. And I'm just like, again, out of the blue, where's this coming from? Like, last 5 minutes of the movie, genuinely, like, I think it was the last 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, the man did like a complete like 360. So they do that and he's like, wow, I feel like you can do anything. We also find out through the good stepbrother that his mom actually left him the diner in Howell, so he owns the restaurant now. Truly zero to hero, because he went from being extremely broke and
Still, he's extremely broke, but now he owns like an establishment where he can make some money. So, you know.
And then we go through a montage of the two of them being extremely famous and everything. His stepbrother, the good one, ends up being a dancer, which is kind of hilarious because throughout the whole movie, they make it a point to show you just how untalented he is compared to his brother when it comes to choreography. But I guess it just wasn't his style, right? Because now he's backup dancing for the two biggest teenage stars in America. Okay. His stepdad and brother are now the cleaners of the store. His uncle slash the couple that we know that sort of supports him and has been working there since his mom becomes the new manager of the store. Overall, I really did enjoy the movie. I think that Charlie and Katie's chemistry was really great, and the fact that they were played by two very talented actors who could actually sing made the singing portion of the song very fun. Seeing Evan Georgia go about and be a bit hilarious is also fun, especially because he had a British accent. You know, it's a Cinderella story. There's going to be similar points, and I like how they took on some of that. The only problem I had is, as I said, the end was extremely rushed. Also, a few points which were a bit off, but also it's like if I felt off about them, kind of makes sense because this is a kids movie. Like, and the scale at which I would expect some things to happen doesn't make sense because also I think it was a Nickelodeon movie, specifically not like made in the cinema movie, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a good movie. Like, the two main characters were the best part of it, and I saw them a lot, so I enjoyed it. As you know, I am going through every Cinderella movie that I can and ranking them as we go along. The two others I've watched is Selena Gomez is Another Cinderella Story, and then I watched Lucy Hale's Cinderella Story movie as well, which is part of a series. If you didn't know, really weird, right? The Cinderella Story with Selena Gomez was pretty high up there because it meant everything to me in my childhood, and when I rewatched it, it still did. It kind of held up, right? And with the rags, I think it kind of goes up there as well. Part of the reason I think is because like there will always be a nostalgic part of me that remembers watching this movie and enjoying it so thoroughly. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I do. And I will see you next time. But before I really say goodbye, please, if you enjoyed this video, if you got this far, hit the like button, subscribe, check out my social medias because I actually post there a lot more, you know, actually fulfilling those New Year's resolutions, right? And I'll see you next time. Bye.